Right then, let's talk about Canada. A land of maple syrup, impossibly polite people, and a military procurement process that makes a snail climbing a greased wall look like a Bugatti Veyron. For what feels like an eternity, they've been trying to buy new fighter jets. First, they wanted the F-35. Then they didn't. Then they sort of did again. Now, in the glorious year of 2025, with the ink barely dry on a multi-billion-dollar deal, the whole thing is wobbling again. It's the sort of indecision you'd expect when choosing a flavor of ice cream, not when buying a piece of kit designed to defend the second-largest country on Earth. So what is this F-35 Lightning II that Canada has provisionally ordered? In simple terms, it's the most ambitious, most complicated, and most eye-wateringly expensive weapons system ever created by mankind. It's an American dream machine, a flying supercomputer that's supposed to be invisible to radar. It can see everything, shoot anything, communicate with a satellite, communicate with a soldier's helmet. It's not just a fighter jet. It's a node in a vast, interconnected web of war. Now, while Canada is having its F-35-induced headache, a different kind of fighter jet has been quietly making its case. It's the Saab Gripen E from Sweden. And if the F-35 is a heavyweight boxer dripping in gold chains, the Gripen is a nimble, wiry martial artist. It wasn't designed by a superpower to dominate the globe. It was designed by a smaller, clever country to defend its own turf. The Swedes know a thing or two about cold weather and vast, empty spaces, which sounds an awful lot like, well, Canada. The Gripen's main selling point is its brilliant simplicity. It's the anti-F-35. It's designed to be easy to maintain and cheap to fly. You don't need a state-of-the-art airbase to operate it. The Swedes designed it to be refueled, rearmed, and sent back into the air by a small team of conscripts from a stretch of ordinary motorway in under 10 minutes. Think about that. Let's put these two machines in the ring. In one corner, the F-35. Its killer feature is stealth. Designed to be a ghost, slipping through enemy air defenses. It's packed with sensors that fuse together a godlike view, sharing that data with everyone on its team. It's a first day of the war weapon, designed to kick down the door so everyone else can follow. Its weakness? It's a bit of a diver. In the other corner, the Gripen E. Not a true stealth fighter, but it's no slouch. Very small radar cross-section, loaded with one of the most advanced electronic warfare suites. Philosophy, master of jamming and confusing enemy radar. A phenomenal dogfighter. Light, nimble, turns on a sixpence. Its weakness? Can't kick down the door on day one like the F-35 can. A defender, a rapier, not a battering ram. Let's get down to brass tacks. The money. The sticker price for a single F-35 is somewhere north of $100 million US. Canada's deal for 88 jets was pegged at 19 billion Canadian dollars initially, but everyone with a brain knows that's just the beginning. The real cost is what it takes to keep these things flying for the next 30 to 40 years. Estimates for the F-35's lifetime cost, including fuel, maintenance, upgrades, and spare parts, are pushing towards a staggering 70 billion Canadian dollars or more. That's a number so large it starts to lose all meaning. The Gripen, on the other hand, is pitched as the budget-friendly option. The flyaway cost is significantly lower, maybe about two-thirds the price of an F-35. But the real savings, Saab argues, come from the running costs. The Gripen E is designed to have the lowest cost per flight hour of any modern fighter. Over a 40-year lifespan, the difference in operating costs between a fleet of F-35s and a fleet of Gripens could amount to tens of billions of dollars. Money that could be spent on hospitals, roads, or even more ships or soldiers. This whole jet saga has been a political football in Canada for over a decade. It's a story of promises made and promises broken. The previous Conservative government championed the F-35, staking their reputation on it. Then, the current Liberal government came to power promising explicitly not to buy the F-35, labeling it an expensive boondoggle. They ran a whole new competition only to, surprise, end up selecting the F-35 after all. This U-turn has created a massive political vulnerability. The opposition parties smell blood in the water. The political landscape in 2025 is a minefield. The government is facing pressure on inflation, healthcare, housing costs. This makes the Gripen's lower price tag and its Made in Canada job promises incredibly appealing. It offers the government a political off-ramp. They could spin a switch to the Gripen not as a failure, but as a fiscally responsible decision that puts Canadian workers first. It would signal that Canada is charting its own course, prioritizing its unique defense needs like Arctic sovereignty over the demands of coalition warfare abroad. The defense establishment itself is divided. Of course, Canada isn't making this decision in a vacuum. The world is watching. First and foremost, you have the United States. Washington has been pushing the F-35 on its allies for years. They want their key partners flying the same jet. It makes coalition operations seamless. If Canada were to back out of the F-35 deal now, it would be a major diplomatic slap in the face to Washington. It would raise awkward questions about Canada's commitment to NORAD and NATO. Most major NATO powers like the United Kingdom, Italy, the Netherlands, Norway are flying the F-35. If Canada opts for the Gripen, it would be the odd one out at the cool kids table. However, other countries like Brazil, Czech Republic have chosen the Gripen, and Sweden itself is now a NATO member. So, while it would be less common, it's not like Canada would be flying a completely alien aircraft. And what about Canada's rivals? You can bet that Russia and China are watching this with immense interest. A Canadian switch to the Gripen would likely be seen in Moscow and Beijing as a win. It creates a seam in the alliance's armor. Let's gaze into the future. Imagine the headlines tomorrow. Canada scraps F-35, goes with Gripen. What happens next? The immediate fallout would be a diplomatic firestorm with Washington. There would be stern phone calls, cancelled meetings, and a general chill in the air. The Pentagon would be furious, and US defense contractors would be furious. Canada would have to engage in some serious damage control to reassure the Americans that this isn't a move away from the alliance, but a practical decision based on Canada's specific needs and budget. For the Royal Canadian Air Force, it would be a seismic shift. All the planning, training, and infrastructure development geared towards the F-35 would have to be retooled for the Gripen. Pilots would need a whole new curriculum. Technicians would need a whole new curriculum. In the short term, it would cause delays and disruption. However, in the long term, the Air Force might find itself in a healthier position. A deal with Saab would likely trigger the construction of a new assembly plant, probably in Quebec or Ontario. It would create thousands of high-tech jobs. The biggest winner would be Canada's aerospace industry. This could revitalize the industry for a generation. So, after all this drama, where do we stand? We have two profoundly different machines built for two profoundly different purposes. The Lockheed Martin F-35 is a technological marvel. It guarantees Canada a seat at the very top table of military power. But it comes with a cost so astronomical it threatens to cripple the rest of the Canadian military, and it demands a level of dependence on the US that makes some Canadians uneasy. On the other side, you have the Saab Gripen E, the clever, pragmatic choice from Sweden. It's a formidable fighter, designed for brutal efficiency and low running costs. It's the perfect tool for defending a vast, sparsely populated country. It promises not just a jet, but an entire industrial strategy, with jobs and technology for Canada. It's the sensible hatchback versus the temperamental supercar. As of today, August 23, 2025, the F-35 officially has the edge. The contracts are signed, the deposits are paid, but the deal is looking decidedly shaky. The political and economic headwinds are blowing fiercely against it. The Gripen, once a long shot, now represents a very real, very tempting alternative. The momentum seems to be shifting. What should Canadians watch for? Look for leaks from Ottawa. Watch the tone of government ministers when they talk about the budget. Pay attention to what the opposition is screaming about. The next few months will be critical. Will they choose the power and prestige of the F-35 or the prudence and independence of the Gripen? Either way, get your popcorn ready. The great Canadian jet fiasco is far from over.